It's the Christmas season. Or at least it was when my producer Josh and I took a trip down to Atlanta.
You want to try the AI-created flavor Y3000 from last year?
I don't know if I want to try that flavor. I'm a Coke Zero Sugar, stan.
Yeah.
That's my go-to.
Yeah. There's nothing more Christmassy than going to Coca-Cola headquarters. I'm actually serious. Christmas iconography, as we know it, has been significantly influenced by Coke. Why do you think Santa Claus is dressed in a red suit with white trim? It was Coca-Cola advertising back in the 1930s that did that. The company is one of the most prolific advertisers in history. And, as you'd expect, they aren't shying away from AI. That's why we're here in Georgia.
Coke Zero Sugar.
Coca-Cola Plaza Northwest.
Ooh, here we
Then
go.
arrive at your destination.
I mentioned this at the end of the last episode, but Coke had recently released a set of holiday ads made entirely from generative AI. They asked 3 different studios to create their own interpretations of the 1995 Coke holiday spot called Holidays Are Coming, using AI video generation models including Leonardo, Luma, and Runway. The brand got 3 unique adaptations from studios Silverside AI, The Wildcard, and Jason Zada's Secret Level. We heard from Zada last episode, and he'll be back again later in this episode.
I'm very curious because, those holiday ads were a bit divisive, at least in the marketing, advertising, creative community. So we'll find out a bit more, about their strategy when it comes to using AI for creative means and ends.
Even though the AI ads were supposed to be a reimagining of Coke's holiday ads from the 90s, which is a pretty innocuous concept, the backlash was intense. The reactions were passionate and numerous enough to get coverage from the New York Times, USA Today, NBC News, and more. While there are some very real concerns about AI's impact on the production and visual effects industries, most of the criticism leveled at the holiday ads didn't focus on that issue. Instead, it was more like, they look too fake. They don't have enough Santa. They ruined Christmas. I was one of the few who felt differently. Oh, and Josh and I have parked at this point and are in the elevator up to the lobby. I know you'll miss the engine hum and blinker in the next bit of this tape. Anyways, my take on the AI Coke ads.
I mean, the original ad from the 90s, obviously you went back and rewatched it when I was looking at these. It's stupid as well.
Yeah.
I hate to say that for me personally. I mean, people loved it and that's cool. But I don't see what everyone's getting all upset about. It's really,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, stupid may have been harsh, but come on. Those 1990s ads weren't exactly the peak of human creativity. They were, however, effective. And these new AI ads also got the job done. Coke is confident that its early experimentation is not only fun, but a meaningful investment that, despite the negative reviews in the short term, is setting the company up for long-term marketing success. This is only the start. I'm Jeff Beer, and this is Brand New World from Fast Company. Today's episode, I'd like to AI the world of Coke. Great, I will just take a sip of my Sprite Zero Sugar Chilled Limited Edition Cherry Lime. And then I'll ask Pratik, can you introduce yourself, name, title, maybe how long you've been at Coke?
My name is Pratik Thakur, Global Vice President for Generative AI at the Coca-Cola Company. I'm based here in Atlanta, around 12 years in the company.
Pratik is the guy who leads strategy on how the company utilizes Gen AI technology to enhance the consumer and brand experience across all of the company's brands, which includes those AI holiday ads. But those ads weren't Coke's first rodeo with AI. In 2023, the brand launched an art contest challenging creators to create new ads combining GPT-4 and DALL-E output with content from its vast advertising archives. It got more than 120,000 artworks from participants in 17 countries, all of which generated 300 million social media impressions. It also launched a 2-minute film called Masterpiece, created with the open source AI platform Stable Diffusion, and teamed with OpenAI to create a new flavor, and there are heavy quotes here, from the future, called Y3000. And last April, the company announced a 5-year strategic partnership with Microsoft and made a $1.1 billion commitment to the Microsoft Cloud and its generative AI capabilities. Before his current job, Pratik held several leadership roles across brands at Coca-Cola, including global head of creative strategy and integrated content. So he doesn't come from the hardcore tech side, but from planning on how to use this technology.
I didn't know much about Gen AI that time, but that's how I came to know.
Okay.
And the founder of Stability AI explained me what is Gen AI.
Got it.
And I learned on the job on my own project. So that was the starting point. And then immediately we started incubator for AI.
Okay. Seeing the potential and seeing its use in that over the course of creating that piece of work, you're
Right.
like, okay, this is a thing.
It's going to change the world. We knew that. So we created open incubator. We went to a lot of tech companies and we said, look, we want to collaborate with you. We don't know your technology, but our platform is quite fertile. This is real and this is magic. All your algorithm, all your technology is real. It's like science can logically explain it. But then when it comes out, the output of Gen AI is magical, right? It's kind of every human thinks that what happened? It's like, how come this kind of... So we thought that the science, the logic, and the art, and this magic, it's kind of a true explanation of Gen AI. And so as Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is the real thing. You can touch it, drink it, taste it. But then you can't explain the taste of Coca-Cola. It's magical, right? So that's where, when we were discussing this, and actually OpenAI founder Sam Altman, he mentioned that, yes, it's kind of, it feels like OpenAI can have that tagline, real magic. So that was the starting point. With Bain Alliance, we partnered with OpenAI. We were the first company globally to collaborate with OpenAI in early 23.
Okay.
Almost immediately after they launched GPT. They launched in November, and we announced our partnership in February. So that time, everyone was so skeptical about AI, Gen AI, OpenAI. Hardly people knew about who are they. And that time, our leadership decided that, yes, this is going to be big.
Okay.
We are going to collaborate with them. And then immediately within 6 weeks of announcement, we launched Create Real Magic platform, where first time we created a sandbox to put DALL-E, their image generation platform, and the GPT into one. And that's where you saw those billboards on Times Square and Piccadilly, all this output.
Was that based on that was I know there was a piece of work where it was like you were asking the audience and giving the resources of Coke assets and being like, create something with this, and the ones we like the most will be billboards and whatnot.
Absolutely. So we thought this brand belongs to people. Coca-Cola is people's brand. We wanted to give them access to all our assets from our archive. They can play with it. They can give their prompts and then create their artworks. And selected artwork goes on billboards in Piccadilly Circus and Times Square. And we wanted to democratize art. And Gen AI is the perfect tool.
Yeah.
It's already creating democratized kind of now any person sitting in a small village can be an amazing global artist, and that person's artwork can go on billboard like Times Square immediately in a few days' time. And that's kind of happens. You don't need to be very special, very famous, very rich person.
Yeah.
And that's very much Coke. Coke is a Coke is a Coke, right? It's Andy Warhol quote that. So it worked very well. And this was a call to action, actually, create real magic. So we told the artist community that, hey, come, this is the tool, play with it.
Massive global brands are notorious for being allergic to risk, especially when it comes to brand work. It's why there's a stereotype that says the bigger a brand is, the less adventurous it is as a brand. But Coke, is different. For some marketers, the negative reaction to those Coke holiday ads would be a defining defeat. But again here, Coke is different. Pratik and the brand obviously see and aren't thrilled with the negative reaction, but they're also playing the long game. Lost amid all the hot take hype around the holiday ads was how these new spots highlighted the sheer utility of AI in advertising. For example, the ads are customized in subtle ways across 12 different US geographic areas. Viewers in New York will see a Welcome to New York sign in a spot, while in the same ad, folks in the Midwest will see a snowy field, and people in LA got palm trees. This was about experimentation, not just for today, but tomorrow.
One thing I wanted to touch on, speaking of like Coke is an expert in scale, but what's kind of uncommon is for a large company and a giant marketer is the company's appetite for risk, creative risk, and it experiments. And I read a quote from last year. I think it was Javier Mesa from Marketing in Europe talked about when it comes to trying new things, that how Coke has such a good appetite for risk. And I'm wondering, how do you and the brand generally manage fear or risk, creative fear or risk, when there's things like there's creative risk in remaking an ad from the 90s in the holidays with AI creative technologists and getting the reactions and both on the positive and negative side. Tell me about first the level of freedom there is here to allow the creatives, whether it's internally or with agency and production partners, work with the AI tools and the brand assets. Tell me about that level of freedom and how you guys approach fear and risk when it comes to creative brand content.
Yeah, sure, Jeff. This is very interesting. One side, our culture at Coca-Cola Company is all about solving problems and doing new stuff. When you do new stuff, when you send Coke can to Moon, partnership with NASA, or when you create a new Coke in 80s,
yeah,
or you partner with Andy Warhol, or you partner with Beatles. This is all different type of collaborations, risk, different kind of experiments. And it happened throughout the journey of 140 years of this company.
How do you create Santa?
And we create Santa in a 3D digital twin, right? So that's when, and Santa created the way we see Santa in 1931 and now creating digital twin of him.
Yeah.
So if you see all these different examples, it shows that this company lives and breathes innovation, doing new stuff. Marketing is all about keeping us relevant with the new pop culture. We were the first ones, one of the first ones to go partner with Netflix, right? Mad Men, where the Hilltop was part of it, and Stranger Things, where so you saw the Netflix. We partnered with Amazon Prime Videos and did our Christmas campaign, short stories, multiple short stories. So that's where you saw different era across different marketing assets and pop culture. Mm-hmm. So we never saw it as just a business, but we see as a pop culture icon, and we need to stay relevant to the culture. And then culture also includes technology and innovation and experimentations and partnerships. So that's how we see our marketing and overall business. And that's where most encouraging part is that our leaders, when we go with some ideas, like usually they don't say no. They usually get excited and say, okay, tell me more. What it takes, what it means to us, why it's connected to something which Coke needs to do, why it's only Coke can do. So those kind of question comes, and that actually pushes us into kind of a much more interesting space. So that's a part of the culture as a company. Now, when we have a role like Gen AI role, like what I'm doing, there is no other way but experiment and collaborate with multiple, like OpenAI, Stability AI, Runway AI. This year, we announced our partnership and International AI Film Festival with Runway. So that's where their partners, apart from Coke, was NVIDIA. Another partner was Goldman Sachs. So that's where we see how do we push the envelope? How do we do new stuff? And risk-taking ability comes from the culture, I would say. It kind of encourages you. And otherwise, we would have not created this role. So MIT Salon Review wrote about it, we creating this role, saying this was the like a first role ever created in non-tech company. And we didn't knew that what it exactly it's going to kind of, but you can actually shape the role based on your vision and how it makes sense to the company and business kind of objectives. So slowly it's evolving, as we say, and it's getting bigger. And as you say, this Hack AI-thon partnership with MIT, all those things takes kind of from creativity to marketing to business to social impact to even kind of looking at a much bigger exponential ideas and solve big problems.
Mr. Green?
Yeah.
You need any help? I think you're the best ever. Want my Coke?
Coke is one of the few brands on this planet with the scale in both its business and cultural awareness to truly have an impact with its experimentation. And as we've heard, it's working with companies like Microsoft, OpenAI, and others to not just use new creative technology tools, but actually create them. It should be credited for pushing the envelope, not only in this way, but also for facilitating the creative ambitions and capabilities of studios like Secret Level, Silverside AI, and The Wildcard. You may hate the initial results, but it is playing a significant role in advancing how this technology can be used creatively. Someday, you might actually like it. We're going to take a quick break, but when we return, I'm going to talk with Jason Zada of Secret Level about not only the creative process behind the holiday ad they made for Coke, but more broadly about the role of creative experimentation for brands.
Want my Coke? It's okay, you can have it.
Hey, kid.
Coke and a smile makes me feel good, makes me feel nice.
See you around.
That's the way it should be. I like to see a Coke and a smile makes me feel good.
Okay, we're back. And we're going to jump into a chat I had with Jason Zada out in San Francisco back last November, just before the Coke holiday ads dropped.
One of the interesting things about working with Coca-Cola, it's like one of the biggest brands, if not the biggest brand in the world, is their approach to working with generative AI has been like life-changing. Like they believe in it. It's become an initiative. And so the project that we did with them was a reimagining of, I believe it's either late 90s or early 2000s TV spot called The Holidays Are Coming. And a bunch of Coke trucks driving into a small town, celebration, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we were just tasked with reimagining it using generative AI. We didn't have to use the original at all. We didn't have to use the story. So we came up with our own story, very similar to the original. We re-recorded the original song, but the whole thing is in AI. And one of the things that I've always felt is so incredible about Coke is that, they're just all about creating magic. And Coke basically created Santa Claus, and that's a fact that whenever people don't know that and you go, yeah, Santa's in red, Coca-Cola, like before that, they did not look like that. So I think that as a brand that's always been at the forefront of storytelling and embracing technology like this, it's really incredible. And I think the piece when people see it, hopefully you don't get hung up. I think it's probably the highest quality thing I've ever seen done in generative AI. And I think that at the end of the day, it's just designed to put a smile on your face.
Yeah.
Like you really just, you want to evoke the same emotions that we do if we had actors and we were on a set, but we were able to do it all with generative AI.
Is part of and I'll critique this too, but is part of the premise or the pitch around this piece of work is that it was created in AI, or is it just about
100%?
Okay, cool.
100%, which is really interesting. And
there's two things going on there, right? There's the idea of how AI is being used as a tool to, and it's not just about cost cutting, but about efficiency and getting ideas out quick, and also the creative flexibility.
Yeah.
But then parallel to that, particularly right now, as we're in this still pretty embryonic stage of this technology and the way people are using it, is that it's also a bit of a marketing device in itself of like, we made this thing with AI, check it out. Like the AI part is part of it. It's not like behind the scenes. It's really much part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think it's part of the conversation just because it is an interesting cultural moment. I think it's one of those moments I think people will look back on and say, this was a good pivotal moment. I think another one of those was James Cameron recently joining, Stability's, it was OpenAI or Stability, I can't remember. James Cameron joining generative AI company's board is a big deal. Like these things are big deals that tell the rest of the industry that things are, hey, this thing is okay. You don't have to be scared of it, embrace it.
To your point, also like the idea that Coca-Cola has a head of Gen AI and that it's investing in this, and we've seen a few other projects, but this holiday project as well, that how has your conversations with brands and marketers, how did they start when it comes to using AI, and how have they evolved over, I mean, we talk about how quickly the technology has evolved. How have the conversations and willingness and optimism over fear, et cetera, how has that evolved most in the past little while?
Great question. I think that a lot of brands are scared. They've had a lot of lawyers tell them that they're going to get sued. And I'm like, I say, well, first learn how models are trained and then learn how all that works. And then I'm not a lawyer, but I'll tell you, it'd be really hard to sue somebody for using something that, especially us, we whatever image comes out initially, there's 95 steps that get it to the final thing. It's being retouched in Photoshop. It's being added with some visual effects layers. It's animated. Every single time it goes through an iteration, I always feel like if it was 100% this, in the beginning, it just gets smaller and smaller the more that we touch it with human hands. But a lot of brands, they are very, very hesitant. And then there's other brands like Coca-Cola just jumping in and saying, we know that this is the future and we're going to be part of it.
Is there a thread between the ones that are jumping in and want to be a part of it and the ones that are a little more cautious? But what are their most common kind of questions to someone like you who's hands-on and using and building with these tools?
9 out of 10 times, it really does come down to the legalities. Everybody's asking, well, what tools are you using? How are those trained? All that different type of stuff. And we've trained models off of brands' assets and things like that, where prompting isn't going to get anybody else's artwork and this and that. So there's ways around all of that. I think when brands start to see some of the biggest brands in the world jumping into the space, they're going to start, and we're seeing it slowly but surely, but I think it's going to take that. I feel like the Coke moment is going to be the pivotal moment where people go, oh, okay, they're doing it. That means it's okay. I could do it as well, and I don't know if all the brands will jump in, but it seems to me that the major hurdle has been legality. But once you remove that, I don't see how every brand won't use it because of just the efficiencies, the speed. We can move at the speed of culture now with this. We could develop things in a day, in 2 days. We could get pieces of work out there 10,000 times faster than we would do if we had to do a traditional production.
Some brands, like Coke, are not only using AI to help create their ads, they're also using the technology as a news hook to get people's attention. Hey, look, this commercial was made with AI. But there are others that are taking the opposite tack. Their gimmick or stance is decidedly anti-Gen AI, like Dove. Last year, Dove celebrated 20 years of its Real Beauty campaign. The brand pledged to never use AI images or video in its advertising. It also launched a spot called The Code, which predicted that 90% of online images will be AI generated by the end of this year. It also created Real Beauty prompt guidelines. These are instructions for creating images using generative AI programs that represent Dove's definition of real beauty instead of the unrealistic interpretations the technology often comes up with on its own. I wanted to ask Zada about this approach.
Back in April 2024, there was a piece in Ad Age about how brands like L'Oreal Dove and Lego were restricting the use of AI in their brand creative. Yeah. I can see that as part of particularly Dove and L'Oreal, where you're talking about beauty standards and very human-centric kind of products. The Lego one confused me a bit, but what do you make of that? It feels like sometimes, just like we were talking about how AI can be used as a bit of a marketing gimmick of like an added like, hey, check this out. We made this with AI. Look how innovative we are.
Yeah.
There's the flip side of that where it's almost like artisanal advertising where it's like no AI was used in this. Like, what do you make of those sort of official restrictions that some of these brands are talking about?
I mean, personally, I think it's ridiculous. It's like telling your design department that they can't use Photoshop. It's like, okay, cool. We'll go get T-squares and we'll start, setting type manually. I think people that are fighting it, they're fighting the boulder that will end up crushing them personally. I think that just where we are, I understand it though. I understand that like it's scary. People don't understand a lot of how it's done. So they're scared of it. So I think fear is one thing. We are though in this really interesting transformative stage, where people are dipping toes, people are scared, people are putting up the sign, on the beach saying, there's a shark in the waters, don't go in. There's all these different phases that people are going through. And I think a lot of it is fear-based because they don't understand it, therefore it has to be bad.
To be fair, for Dove, making a case for more realistic interpretations of beauty in Gen AI images is completely consistent with the brand ethos that it's been living for 2 decades. In fact, beauty brands like Sephora and L'Oreal have been at the forefront of how brands are using AI beyond marketing, creating tools to help their consumers. In that respect, Coke also knows its role as a brand. Back to Pratik.
Our business, end of the day, is an analog business. Coke is real. We are not selling Gen AI Coke. We are selling real Coke, the real thing. So, end of the day, when you go to the market and you see the shopper marketing and activation on ground and all those things are going to be continuous and it's going to be part and parcel of the larger picture.
Yeah.
But then we need to do something more interesting, exciting, innovative, experimentative. And that's where we are using somewhere. So it's kind of a combination always. And yes, people were critical and that's fine. Because when we push the envelope, when we do something new, when we had polar bear and CGI, people say, oh my God, that's not real thing. It's the computer graphics. Now no one will talk about computer graphics because it's a day-to-day thing. I'm sure 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line, people will laugh at it saying, hey, we were criticizing AI film, but now everything is AI film.
Right? Or some aspect of it is.
Most of aspects.
Yeah, just like CGI is now.
Right.
It's worth pointing out here again that the stakes of creatively experimenting with this technology are incredibly high, particularly for a brand like Coke. Why? Because if people don't like it, it gets covered as national news, which it was.
It was supposed to be a reimagination of the iconic Holidays Are Coming campaign from 1995. But nearly 30 years later, the beverage behemoth now facing backlash for taking the real people and the cheer out of the holidays.
Coca-Cola just put out an ad and ruined Christmas and their entire brand.
It's less festive, more creepy holiday vibes.
With that in mind, I wanted to ask Pratik what his advice to other brands of all shapes and sizes would be when it comes to creative risk-taking.
For other brands or marketers, non-competitive, not in your category, what advice would you give them in terms of how to approach this technology?
2 kind of aspects. One is that please start as soon as possible and be open to it. That's my first advice. Don't wait because there won't be a perfect time to start. So it's not next year, it's not after 6 months, next week, it's now because future is faster than we think and it's here. The other side, I would say to the industry, especially you mentioned about creative industry, it's a wake-up call for us. We have to rethink the whole model. And we need to do it very quickly because it's not a threat. I think it's an opportunity right now. But again, it's like we know those companies who didn't listen to the technology trends and then they regret later on. There are so many examples in last many, many years, so many. So I feel that it's about staying up to date and rethinking the business model. And people may not have that much time to kind of say, okay, let's do it as our 2025 plan and those kind of stuff. It's because this technology is evolving every week.
Mm-hmm.
And the solutions are coming every week. They are better and better. And it's impacting the way we use the technology. And it's that transition is happening. Mm-hmm. This transition is not going to be easy. But I think at Coca-Cola Company, we are inviting everyone, especially creative community, creative technologists. And we say that let's work together. We will give you real life briefs and we will put those kind of things on table, our real projects.
Yeah.
So you can learn, you can evolve, you can be part of this journey rather than we doing our own thing and then creative community doing our own thing. Coca-Cola Company as a whole, as I mentioned, partnering with Andy Warhol or Beatles or various different artists across the world, we have this amazing unspoken commitment and agreement with the creative community, and it will remain that way. Yeah.
Well, stay tuned to the end of the episode, and I'll give out Pratik's phone number.
So, Pratik's number is 404-32. Okay, so looking back at the previous digital revolution, as I mentioned before, there were ad agencies and production companies that specialized in digital. Larger ad agencies and brands had specialized positions like Chief Digital Officer or Digital Creative Director. But eventually, the word digital began to disappear because, well, everything was digital. You weren't a digital agency, you were an agency. You weren't a digital marketer, you were a marketer. So given the conversation around Gen AI being a revolutionary technology that will eventually be part of everything we do, I wonder if job descriptions like Pratik's will soon or eventually be extinct, buried in the same technology transition graveyard as Chief Digital Officer.
Does the extinction of your job title mean you've been a success here? You know what I mean? Like when it's integrated
Absolutely.
in every department?
Absolutely. So if I stay longer, that means I'm not doing my job. The success of this job is to get out, means I need to take myself out of this job, and basically there shouldn't be this kind of job. We used to have mobile marketing experts and
Right.
we used to have chief digital officers, and now that's kind of different. And same thing is going to happen. It's already happening, but definitely everyone needs to, an insider, someone needs to understand how company works and where AI is the priority. Because going all out and saying now everything is AI, and that's also not going to be very practical. It's not advisable. So I would say start with few things where it makes a huge impact. It becomes kind of a part of the culture. People learns and kind of adopts it without getting threatened. And that's what worked for us till now. And we need to keep learning what is the next phase, because whatever brought us here is not going to bring us there. So it's like we need to keep evolving ourselves.
You give a little love and it all comes back to you.
Nothing like a frosty bottle of Coca-Cola.
Want my Coke?
So tangy in taste.
The new Coke Pop Quiz.
So ever fresh and sparkling.
Catch the wave, Coke.
Coke has a distinctive flavor that's never been equaled.
We seem to be down to our last Diet Coke.
Gives you a bright little lift.
Just for the taste of it. Diet Coke.
We've talked about the negative reaction to Coke's holiday ads here, and the backlash did indeed spark many national news stories. But that's not the whole story. Not long after they launched, Andrew Tyndall, Senior VP of Global Partnerships at market research firm System 1 Group, posted on LinkedIn about audience reaction. He wrote, "We've tested the new AI version with real people, and they love it. The 15-second cut has managed to score top marks, 5.9 stars and 98% distinctiveness, huge positive emotions, and almost zero negative." To put the new AI-powered spots into perspective, let's rewind 31 years to 1993. That's when Coke unveiled its first commercial with its now familiar polar bears. Those polar bears, which are not real polar bears, just complete CGI, became iconic characters for Coke, used in heaps of ads in the years since. Yet even they started with some controversy. At the time, Coke was criticized for making the spot with Hollywood talent firm Creative Artists Agency instead of its traditional ad partners at McCann. As Stuart Elliott wrote in the New York Times, Madison Avenue's attacks on the campaign have been unrelenting. Even when the commercials have been screened at industry gatherings, they have been booed and hissed. Sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? There are a lot of emotions wrapped up in this debate that have nothing to do with the ads themselves. AI didn't create these spots. Humans did, using AI as a tool. Complain all you want about a dead-eyed polar bear or that the wheels of a truck don't actually look like they're spinning. And yes, please, let's discuss the legitimate concerns within the production and visual effects industry about the impact of AI. But for the love of Santa's beard, spare the pearl clutching about how this creative tool has somehow robbed the humanity out of work that for eons has been regularly created by committee, focus grouped and A/B tested to death, and put into existence for the single purpose of convincing you to buy something. If you're shopping for humanity here, you're in the wrong aisle, man. It's fair to question how AI is used, the choice of music, or why Coke wanted to remake a frankly pretty basic holiday ad anyway. But don't blame AI. The debate on quality comes down to creative vision and execution. And that responsibility, for now, still very much rests with the humans. So brace yourself. Take a deep breath. This is just the beginning.
I like to teach the world to sing. Sing with me.
Brand New World is an MIC podcast from Fast Company. Our producers are Yaz Gagne, Grace Snelling, Blake Odom, and Avery Miles. Mix and sound design by Nicholas Torres. Our executive producer and editor is Josh Christensen. Be sure to subscribe to Brand New World on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. You can also hear all episodes in the Most Innovative Companies podcast feed. If you like this podcast, leave us a rating and review on your podcast app of choice, or let us know in the comments of Fast Company's social media. We're basically on every app you can think of. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next week.